Hiya everyone, Lexi here. So if you saw my coming out video, you might even remember me calling it a sequel. A new chapter where the story runs deeper, but the heart stays the same. That got me thinking, what are some of the best JRPG sequels of all time? The ones that build on what came before, but take things somewhere unexpected and unforgettable. So I made a list of the ones that pulled it off. And before you say, wait, what about this game? What about that one? Well, chances are I've talked about them in my other videos too. So if you don't want to miss your favorites getting mentioned in any video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And don't just mention what's missing in the comments. Tell me why you like them too. I wanted to kick this list off with one of the most underappreciated RPGs of 2024, one that not only blew away my expectations as a follow-up to Romancing Saga Minstrel Song, but also stood tall as a remarkable remake. I'm talking about Romancing Saga II: Revenge of the Seven. Like a few titles on this list, it's a sequel in name only. There's no need to have played the original, which makes it a great entry point for newcomers. This dev team has a real gift for turning classic 2D experiences into vibrant 3D ones, and more importantly, making them actually play better. The original Romancing Saga 2 had all sorts of hidden systems buried under the limitations of its time. But Revenge of the Seven brings clarity to things like the Glimmer system, which now feels intuitive and easy to grasp. And that's just the beginning. This game was light years ahead of its time, featuring roguelite, with a T, elements back in its original release in 1993. You rule a kingdom, and every time your monarch dies or retires, their skills get passed down to the next ruler, allowing you to grow stronger through each generation. You can also tackle the story in any order you want, giving it a super open-ended structure that still feels fresh today. Revenge of the Seven modernizes all of this beautifully without losing what made it so brilliant in the first place. Plus, there's a demo that carries over to the full game, and it's available on modern PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. It warms my heart that in 2025, I can talk about Lunar and actually expect people to know what I'm talking about. Just the other day, Lady Pelvic pinged us on Discord and exclaimed, "Why haven't you all told me about how great Lunar is?" To which I lovingly replied, "That just tells me that you haven't been active on Discord." Yes, I'm throwing a little shade, but it's all in good fun. As she plays through one of my 10 out of 10 JRPGs of all time, I'm beyond excited for her to eventually reach its sequel, Lunar Eternal Blue, one of the best JRPG sequels I've ever played. Set 1,000 years after the original, it tells a brand new story that's darker, more thematically rich, and way more emotionally resonant. You can play it on its own, but I'd still recommend starting it with Silver Star Story. There's a lot of connective tissue that makes Eternal Blue hit that much harder. On the gameplay side, it's a major step up. Combat is faster and snappier. The magic experience system adds welcome customization. And the amount of voice acting, especially for the time, is just impressive. And now, thanks to the Lunar Remastered Collection, you can play both games on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's never been easier to discover one of the most magical RPG duologies ever made. Star Ocean: The Second Story is such a strong sequel that instead of remaking the original, they skipped it entirely and went straight to this one. No shade to the first Star Ocean, but yeah, this was the right call. While it technically takes place after the first game, the second story stands completely on its own. You might catch a few fun nods, but it's a fully self-contained experience. And as proof of how effective this was, it's worth noting that the first Star Ocean hadn't even come out in the West at the time. That just speaks to how well the sequel holds up. A big part of its appeal is the way it blends science fiction with fantasy. While the sci-fi elements are usually downplayed in the Star Ocean series, I have always appreciated how they give the world a unique flavor. there's a fun contrast between characters who've traveled through space and those who see them as legendary heroes from prophecy. It gives the story an extra layer of texture. The series has had its up and downs since then, but the second story remains my favorite. And with the release of Star Ocean: The Second Story R, it's never been easier to revisit what made it so special. You can play it now on PlayStation platforms, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Capcom might not be known for RPGs today, but back in the day, their Breath of Fire series struck a chord with fans, and it's still beloved. Much like Final Fantasy, each game features a new cast, a different world, and a standalone story. That said, you're always playing as a blue-haired guy named Ryu, who can turn into a dragon, and somehow it never gets old. Of all the entries, Breath of Fire 4 has always stood out as one of the best. It does so many things differently, not just from the rest of the series, but from JRPGs in general. Its pacing is fantastic. You're always moving from one interesting scenario to the next, facing new challenges, progressing the story, and yes, indulging in minigames. And not just one or two, but a lot of them. It's also one of those games that feels like it threw in everything and the kitchen sink, yet somehow still plays tight, focused, and well-balanced. There's no single gimmick that defines it. It's the way all of its parts come together that makes it shine. If any of that sounds appealing, you're in luck. Breath of Fire 4 was recently re-released on PC via Good Old Games, so you should definitely give it a shot. Final Fantasy has no shortage of sequels, but the one that I want to spotlight is the first true follow-up to a mainline entry. When it launched, people mocked it for looking like a Charlie's Angels knockoff, but after the remaster, fans finally came around. I'm of course talking about Final Fantasy X-2. It picks up right after Final Fantasy X with Yuna chasing visions of Tidus, who vanished at the end of the original. She joins forces with Riku and punk icon Pain to uncover the truth behind what she's seeing. Now, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't one big annoyance. The true ending is locked behind watching every cutscene without skipping, even on replays. It's the video game equivalent of you can't skip the recap if you want dessert. And yes, the remaster keeps that rule. Still, what made X-2 shine for me was its reinvention of the job system through dress spheres, combined with the return of active time battle. It's one of the most creative takes on jobs the series has ever done, and a big reason why players have grown to love it. And let's be real, getting to revisit Spira and see what happened to your favorite characters? That's worth the ride alone. You can grab it bundled with Final Fantasy X on PS3, PS4, Vita, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. The original Tales of Xillia was a rock-solid JRPG and one of the PS3's best. But for my money, Tales of Xillia 2 took everything great about it and pushed it even further. Set a year later, the sequel not only shows how the world has changed, but reintroduces the cast with new challenges. And yes, dimension hopping is now a thing. The story takes some bold turns, but so does the combat. While the first game's link system was a highlight, Xillia 2 adds even more depth by giving protagonist Ludger 3 weapon styles that he can switch between mid-combo. It's one of the densest and most technical battle systems in the series. That said, it's very much a direct sequel. You won't get the full impact without playing the first game, which is exactly why I hope Bandai Namco eventually bundles both Xillia titles into a modern remaster. These games deserve a second chance to shine, but for now, you can only play Tales of Xillia 2 on the PS3 through a physical copy, since the digital versions were delisted. It's hard to overstate how much of a smash hit Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana was, and I think that's largely because of how it stood apart from the series' larger storyline. While most Ys games are fairly approachable on their own, Ys 8 felt especially welcoming to newcomers, which is why I was so thrilled when Ys 9 Monstrum Nox turned out to be the opposite, a love letter to longtime fans. For a series with such a tangled timeline, I was surprised to learn Ys 9 takes place furthest in the chronology, finally feeling like a true continuation. But what really sold me were the callbacks. I audibly gasped when Xillia, a boss from the original Ys, appeared. I was stunned when a character referenced Kefin from Ys 5, and I was genuinely moved when collecting all the azure petals revealed Adol was reconnecting with a lost love. These moments weren't just Easter eggs. They gave the game emotional weight in a way few Ys titles have pulled off. It was like the series took a moment to look back on everything it had built and invited fans along for the ride. Ys 8 may still be an ideal starting point, but Ys 9 felt like the perfect sequel. It wasn't just a new adventure, but a culmination made for those who have followed Adol every step of the way. And you can play this epic love letter now on modern PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is often considered as one of the best in the series, but its sequel, Radiant Dawn, is no slouch. Set 3 years later, the story shifts focus to a new protagonist, Micaiah, alongside returning character Sothe. When I first started the game, I remember thinking, where the heck is Ike? But it didn't take long for the new cast to win me over. And when Ike finally returned, it felt like a true homecoming. One thing that did take some getting used to, though, was the difficulty. Radiant Dawn is notorious for being one of the hardest entries in a franchise already known for being punishing. Combine that with its deep ties to Path of Radiance, and it's tough to recommend this one as a standalone experience. The story and mechanics both build heavily on what came before. That said, while Path of Radiance feels like a complete experience on its own, Radiant Dawn enriches and expands it in a way that makes the two games feel inseparable. It's the kind of sequel that I didn't think was needed at first, but now that we have it, I couldn't picture this duology existing without it. Sadly, as of this video's recording, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is only available on the Nintendo Wii. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 stands out for being both a self-contained story and a meaningful follow-up to the earlier games. It's a great entry point for newcomers, while longtime fans will appreciate the deeper ties. The premise is instantly compelling. What would you do if you only had 10 years to live? That's the reality for its cast, born into a world trapped in endless war. And what starts simple evolves into something far more emotional and complex. The ride to the finale is one of my favorites, not just for its payoff, but for how much fan service and heart it delivers. Combat features a 6-member party, 7 counting guests, a refined class system that keeps things flexible, and the kind of massive explorable worlds that the series is known for. The characters are strong too, both likable and layered, and the story builds towards one of the most emotional conclusions in the series. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 easily earns its place among the best JRPG sequels ever made. It's only available on Nintendo Switch, and yes, it runs great on the new Switch too. When I heard the developers of Octopath Traveler looked to Final Fantasy VI as a major influence, I had a feeling that their next project would lean into that even more. And sure enough, when I played Octopath Traveler 2 for review and saw its world caught in the middle of an industrial revolution, I immediately thought of Final Fantasy VI's steampunk cities and thunderous locomotives. But more than just inspiration, Octopath Traveler 2 felt like the moment the series truly found its identity. It's still a turn-based RPG with a flexible job system, though with less traditional job names, but it now has a much richer world. You explore across wildly diverse biomes, uncover optional areas packed with secrets, and learn more about the world through each character's path actions. Best of all, the characters themselves are far more compelling this time around. You actually care about their stories. I didn't think I'd cry over an apothecary and a thief, but here we are. The developers also found clever ways to make the group of 8 feel more like a real team. Beyond special dialogue events, the game includes paired storylines and quests that tie 2 characters together in meaningful ways. And that's not even touching on what happens after the ending. Yes, this game has a post-game, but like Dragon Quest XI, it's essential. That's where you'll find the game's true villains. And yes, plural. Octopath Traveler 2 was my Game of the Year for 2023, even over Baldur's Gate 3. You can play it now on PlayStation and Xbox platforms, Switch, and PC. These were just some of my favorite JRPG sequels, but I know that there are plenty more out there that mean a lot to people. If I missed one you love, tell me why it stuck with you. Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. And if you'd like to support a trans gamer making thoughtful, joyful, and sometimes brainy videos like this one, head on over to patreon.com/backlogbattle. Your support truly helps me keep going and keeps the RPG ramblings flowing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.